everyone. Beat 'em Up Wrestling is back with the AEW Friends. And Jack came in with this one too, because we want to talk a little bit about some stuff that's very near and dear to our heart, which is women's wrestling. So the last couple of days, we've had a lot of cool things happen in AEW specifically. It's women's wrestling division. We had the tag tournament. We're setting everything up for All Out, and we had the announcement of the AEW Heels subscription. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything, but we're going to start off with the positive, which was the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament that started on Monday nights. I thought it was fantastic. I loved all the women that were involved. I loved all the guests, people that came out of Beta. I loved Guerrero, Medusa, everybody that came out. I was completely kept doing that, and I was excited, and I wanted more. I wanted more than 40 minutes, but I was grateful for the time that they had, and I thought they killed it. The views are pretty good on YouTube. But who wants to start off? Todd?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
So me and my crew over at 450, we were really confused about all of this. Not the idea of the tag team tournament, although the timing probably could have been better, but for reasons we'll get to later. But we were like, how is this going to work? Because nowhere did they say YouTube. Then all of a sudden I'm hearing it on YouTube. And then I was like, oh, it's happening on Monday. I'm like, okay. And then the Monday of, it's like, oh, here's the time. I'm like, it could have been planned a little bit better, but I went in open mind, open hearts, and blah blah blah, all that Friday Night Lights stuff, and I was like, okay, let's just see how this rolls. And so the Nightmare Sisters happened, like they had a good match overall, and then the second match happened with hashtag JJ and Nyla and Ariana, and I'm like, this is actually better. I was not expecting it to be that good. Even Jericho was like, I didn't expect it to be that good, because we had seen Anna in one match, and I was against Abaddon and went all 2 minutes, and Tay Conti had been on NXT, and she was barely utilized, and I'm seeing her go up against Nyla and basically own her, and I'm like, where was this in NXT? And then they won. Then TJ won. I'm like, I was for sure they were going to do Nightmares versus Nyla and Ariana. And I'm like, okay, this is already so much better than I expected. So, and yeah, like you said, having Vita on commentary, she's great. Shell Guerrero introducing her mom. Like, how many people get to say that? I got to introduce my mom today. And then Medusa, like, pulling out all the legends and everything. But yeah, it was good. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I pray they don't pull a Nightmare Sisters victory in the end, because that would just be. But we'll see how it goes. I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith, and my faith was already rewarded night one, so I will give night one a solid B for their thing, and because of like the timing and all. But I'm looking forward to next week and however many nights this goes. So a very good start.
All right, and we'll go with our next guest, Caro, back on AEW Friends. Go ahead.
Let me just say that I am super excited that TJ is a thing. I love TJ so much. I thought Anna Jay was on AEW even before when she joined the Dark Order, and I thought that she had a lot of potential there. I can see why they were absolutely building her up last month, and just to see her with Tay is just fantastic, and I love the two together. I hope they win. I really hope they win the whole thing. So that's great. I think this is like a nice start to just having more women being spotlighted. I have my own feelings on that, which we'll get to later, but I think the tournament was just a really nice start in showcasing some of the talent that the roster has, because honestly, there's incredible, immense talent in that roster. And yeah, the star talent isn't as established as WWE, where they hold a big threshold on a lot of the women's talent there, but it's still fantastic. And I think there's so much to build from here. And I think the tournament, despite it being on YouTube, it's a good start. It's a good start, I'll say that.
Yeah. Jack, do you want to give your thoughts?
So I think the tournament itself was awesome. I think, again, and I mean this in the kindest way that I can for a company that really kind of made me fall in love with American wrestling again, because I was kind of like just watching New Japan and some Lucha Libre for a while to kind of go to. So I really want the best for this company, but they've mismanaged their women's division and they mismanaged this tournament horribly. I'm surprised that they got as many viewers as they did live on YouTube, but the way that they just announced what was going on last week And then they didn't tell us, they weren't really clear about it being on YouTube at first. If you weren't on Twitter, you wouldn't even known that it was on YouTube. You wouldn't have known the time. So it's like, they say they want to get the demographic of 50 and over, but they don't cater for them. They only cater for the people that are following them on social media. If you're following them on YouTube and you're following them on Twitter, you could keep up with this. But if you're not, then you're out of the loop. The tournament itself, like, we had great guests. We had Medusa, Shaw Guerrero, Beta Scott, which I was like super hyped when I heard her, and I was like, this is great. Having a female commentator actually talk about female wrestling, like, we need more of this. And honestly, they shouldn't even have Tony Schiavone. They should have had 2 women commentating for this tournament. The match was great. I think Tay Conti came out. She did amazing on Twitter. She cut a really great promo on Twitter. She got herself over. And once again, the women have to do the work to get themselves over, because AEW does not invest the time and does not give them the opportunity to get over. I mean, in BTE, the person that they've had more on BTE for women has been Taya Valkyrie, and she's in another promotion. So it's like,
ironic.
like, how are these women supposed to get over? Like, I constantly hear, oh, well, you know, the AEW women's division is too green. They don't have the star power. Well, you can't just have star power overnight. You got to build it.
Yeah, and to go on to that is like, sure, some of them were green, like, you know, Penelope and some of the others, or even Anna Jay, who's admitted she's only been in the business 2 years. But as we saw, you can turn green wrestlers into stars if you do things right, like what they did with Nyla. You know, she was green. She had a great match with Riho to kick off the whole thing on the first Dynamite, and then their second match was just as epic. Sheeta got over incredibly quick. Statlander took all of 2 appearances to be incredibly over. So yeah, they just have to take the time. The other thing I'm going to disagree with you on, they do appeal to the 50 plus. Hello, 50 plus seconds for 50 plus. I mean, those beautiful segments like the painting and the old school wrestling match. Oh, JR's gonna love this. You know, like, they are appealing, man. You gotta look for it.
No, it was the gardening one. Todd.
The gardening.
My mom approved of the gardening. Okay. No, but to rebuttal everybody, just to get a little more conversation out of it. My problems as a marketing standpoint, if you take the 30 to 60 seconds to have the girls in the back and pull really quick to pull out their draw, I thought that was going to be more televised. I was looking forward to seeing people's reactions to who they were going to be partnered with, and to see that chemistry start to build when they get in the ring. But instead, they had Jericho on his live Facebook feed announce one of the teams, and I'm like, okay, that sucked. I missed that. If I wasn't on social media, I wouldn't have caught that. I would have just been surprised, which was okay, but it wouldn't have given me the same buildup if I would have known, oh, I want to see Conti, so I'm going to tune in for real now. Like I was, but now for real, I'm looking forward to seeing her in a different promotion and see what she has. But once again, they missed a mark on that. They could have taken a couple of seconds on that just to promote it on the Dynamite that was before. Because like you said, Todd, there wasn't too much. What time is it? Where is it going to be? There should have been a clear segment or segue or a backstage with the first 2 tag teams that were going to go at it and talk a little bit about it, and just have that heat, that emotion, you know, that they always build up with the guys, you know, and it takes a few seconds. They do enough vignettes and promos and videos and in-ring, you know, talking. I hate to bring up things like, you know, Shayna Baszler in the ring. I hate to bring up Becky in the ring. But they get moments in the ring by themselves during this time period. When was the last time we saw a woman go up there and actually have a moment besides Nyla just recently with Vicky?
Yeah.
And I want to also mention, like, this problem even goes back to October, because I love Riho. I loved her as champion. I thought, despite the situation that was going on with the AEW women's division when Dynamite was starting, I thought she was a great choice. But they didn't really give her promo time.
No.
And I was reading this thread earlier today where someone explained the Emi Sakura versus Riho match at Full Gear. And a lot of the buildup wasn't really put on Dynamite. Like, I think Emi Sakura literally had to make a Twitter thread that was basically like, hey, this is my relationship with Riho. I used to teach her,
Yeah.
you know?
And then they did like one video.
Yeah. And you should have that exposition on social media. You should have that on Dynamite. Have the 2 have a promo together. There was so much capable storytelling here that you could have done. A teacher versus a student. Oh my gosh. that's a classic storytelling, mechanism. You could do so
Yeah.
much with that.
I mean, it goes back to like if you like New Japan Pro Wrestling, the slow build to a storyline. That was definitely that was a storyline in itself. You could have just produced it and be like, look, teacher versus student storyline itself, and it would have been perfect, Or it's just, but it goes back to when they do the road to. The road to sometimes builds up into the matches you see, but once again, you're expecting people to do an extra task throughout their day. And with the things going on in the world right now, people are scatterbrained. People are worried about other things that are going on. People are trying to make the best out of the situations, making extra money, taking care of loved ones, trying to figure out how to meet their bills and etc. They need to give us something. We're not complaining. Once again, we love what we love in AEW, but we just want more. And
Well,
right
okay,
now,
don't be afraid to say that we're complaining, because everyone takes it, oh, you're complaining, oh, you hate the thing. No,
Yeah.
we're complaining because we want more.
yeah,
Like, this tag tournament is a great thing, but for a company that literally says we love tag team wrestling, you're doing it on a separate show, barely promoting it. And apparently Dynamite the one we saw last night was taped, so it was understandable that they didn't talk about what happened in the tournament, but still they could have done something.
I also see it like this. I love Dynamite. Here's how it can be even better.
Exactly.
Like
like
if you have an A- show, here's how you can bring it up to like an A+.
yeah, like look what
If
you guys
I
missed
if
out
I
on
hated
today.
if I hated Dynamite, if I hated AEW, I wouldn't be watching every week. That's just the truth. I watch Dynamite because I love the wrestlers there. I love the storylines there. There's already so much good that the show's doing, and I think it could be so much better if they're more inclusive with the women in the roster.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, all you guys are right. Everybody's point of view is on point. We all feel a certain way. We all have the same.
I just want to add something to it was pre-recorded. Yeah, it's called editing.
Editing. And you could have edited in a segment of like maybe
Yep.
TJ or the Nightmare Sisters cutting a promo saying like, if you thought night 1 was good, just wait till night 2, and it doesn't matter who's gonna win, we're gonna beat them, and blah blah blah.
Yep.
You did like a how long of a segment for both Best Friends and Proud and Powerful over a minivan.
Yeah.
Oh really? Like you couldn't do that on a road to or something? Like
And then next week is supposed to be Tag Team Appreciation Dynamite. But are we gonna get any women's tag team?
That is perfect for the women's tag team tournament to be spotlighted. Have a match on Tag Team Appreciation Night.
There was nothing said about the tag team.
No. Nothing.
Oh, I was just like, I'm waiting. I'm like, oh, tag team appreciation. Okay, let's do it. Let's get something going on here. We can even revisit what we saw on Monday. A rematch. If you don't want to do new talent, you don't want to injure talent going forward, review what you already did. Just revisit that.
Or have the two tag teams that lost face each other. Boom.
Nobody gets injured. Nothing will slow down.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad because you're gonna do tag team appreciation. The first thing they should have showed was a promotion for the women's tag team tournament.
Yeah. I mean, and that was just an idea I had off the top of my head. It's not like I'm a writer of anything or something like that, but
plug.
Yeah, plug.
So yeah, let's talk about another issue. Jack broke down, you work midnights, and so you had some time on your hands to break down some statistics on AEW's content since its conception in October. Yep. And one of the big ones that stood out to me is that in the 44 Dynamites, 16 of the women's matches have been less than 6 minutes, which is basically 36% of their matches.
Yep, and it gets even worse because in 44 Dynamites, that's about 88 hours of TV time. They've only dedicated 5 hours and 21 minutes to the women, which is about 6% of their TV time has been given to women wrestling.
Wow.
Yeah, it was when I saw everything broken down in a way where it was more digestible. And it's kind of like when you see something, you think these things, you see it and you're like, oh yeah, you chime into the tweet threads and you see, oh yeah, I agree with you. Women need more time on AEW. But then when you see the hard facts in front of you, you can't really, there's nowhere to go. There's no wiggle room for you to compromise on anything. It's just, so what's your response to that? You know?
I could go really quick with other numbers to kind of like drive it in.
Roll it.
So Riho was champion from the inaugurated Dynamite. She was on 7 Dynamites from October through January, and she had a total of 1 hour and 3 minutes of TV time. Then Nyla became champion. She was on 3 Dynamites, and she was given 21 minutes and 59 seconds. Shida is their current champion. She won it, I believe it was in May. Since then, she's only been on Dynamite starting July 1st. That was her first time she came back on Dynamite with the championship belt. For the month since then, she's only been on Dynamite for 21 minutes, 28 seconds. At the same time, we have I'm just going to cut it down to the month of July. If you guys want to read more about the total championship runs for these people, you could go to the article. But since the month of July, Moxley was out for 2 weeks, but he's been given, I think that was wrong. He's around 37 minutes. Cody, in the month of July, has been given 59 minutes. Kenny Omega has been given 1 hour and 12 minutes. Hangman has been given 1 hour and 20 minutes. And Shida is the only champion that's on the sideline near the ring, cheering for the other wrestlers, while the other champions are treated like real royalty.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Now, I will give a small pass to the Nyla time period because that was right after Revolution, which was right when the coronavirus lockdown, and she, by her own admission, was locked down in DC, so she couldn't get to Daly's place. But everything else
Can
is
I talk
bad.
about start an interview? Can I talk about Revolution for a quick second? Because this is also something I thought of today.
Go
So
ahead.
we all know how much we love the tag team match at Revolution. 6 stars, one of the best matches ever. It's one of my favorites that I've ever seen before. What match followed it?
The women's match.
The women's match.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that should explain itself.
Yeah. It's the, oh my God, I'm so exhausted after that. I need to relax and watch something that you might know will be slow paced.
Yeah.
It's
And to be fair, Statlander was sick that day, so it wasn't the best match ever. But yeah, that they could have done something a little bit better than that.
It goes back to the Ruthless Aggression era, the Divas era, and the Attitude era, where women matches were used as the palate cleanser. Okay, man, we really got your hearts going up. We're gonna bring you back down. You guys should go to the washroom. You guys should go get concessions. You don't really
And I
have to pay
remember
attention.
even going into the PG era from 2008 to at the very least 2014, that attitude was still going on where people are like, oh, it's the bathroom break.
Yeah.
I remember going to a
give
WWE.
Divas a chance.
I remember going to a WWE event in 2010. I think it was a SmackDown, and like when Lay Cool came out, half the audience got up and went to the bathroom. So, yeah.
Weak. No. And in contrast, when I was at my first Dynamite in Champaign, where a certain person got to go into the ring, even though I was there with a comic book and everything, not going to say who, but when that happened, my favorite match of the night, ironically enough, was Shida versus Statlander, because that match brought it start to finish.
That was
It was 10 plus minutes and everything, and I was just like, that was awesome. And again, the Nyla Riho matches were awesome. Nyla Shida at Double or Nothing was awesome. And Statlander's had some good matches. The Fatal 4-Way at a Homecoming, that was awesome. They've had great women's matches, and they have at times dedicated time to these women's matches. And yet now, partly because of injuries, partly because of the international travel ban, they are just floundering in the worst way. And this is not the time to say, oh, most of our women are gone, let's just put them to the side. No, this is when you double down. This is when you make stuff happen. And right now, they're setting up Abaddon for something. Anna Jay's now Dark Order. And Swole has now this incredibly long feud with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. She's a dentist, by the way. And it's like, what? And then we had Diamante versus Evilise, which could have been awesome, but it was short. Then Diamante went 6 minutes against Shida. That was lame. She's allegedly doing an open challenge, but now she's not. And like in her last title match, as Jack said, was against Penelope Ford at Fyter Fest, which was fine. It was a great match. It was easily Penelope's best match and had a lot of good moments, but Shida is a warrior. That's one of the reasons I love her. But she should be drilling every single match that she goes into, and 10 plus minutes as the champ. You're giving Cody 10 plus minutes for a brand new title, that people are still 50-50 on, even with Warhorse and Ricky and Eddie Kingston and all that. But you're not going to give that to the women who you emphasize, that you want the best women's division in the world. That's you're saying one thing and you're giving us another.
I mean, AEW doesn't have to sign every single woman that comes into AEW, but like the TNT Open Challenge has been doing, I would love for Hikaru Shida to actually have that opportunity to have an open challenge. You could bring in so many women's talent from all over the country. And there's a lot of them that have expressed interest on social media too.
Yeah.
There's just so much they could do here. There's a lot. There's a huge talent pool from the independents that you can pull from right now.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa, she wanted in. Cyborg, she wanted in, which was surprising. And I know this will never happen, but even if you got her for one night, imagine Tully coming out and introducing Tessa for one night, just to have her there. And then, let the chips fall where they may. That would be huge.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like, everybody wants all these women to go to AEW, but if I'm a women wrestler and I'm seeing these statistics, like, I'm like, so why would I leave a promotion that's gonna give me, like, Impact actually gives their women marquee, like they're doing this big thing, emergence coming up, and the only match that they've announced is Perasso versus Jordan Grace, right there.
Boom.
NXT Takeover, Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, right there. AEW doesn't do that. So if I'm like a Tessa Blanchard, then I'm trying to become, I'm young, I'm like 23, I want to become the greatest woman wrestler. Why would I go to a company that's barely giving me 7 minutes a Dynamite? And that's to be shared among all the women.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That is a big problem, and that's why they need to buckle down and everything, and just get creative. You have all this, what do we want to call it, enhancement talent, freelance talent, whatever you want to call it. Give them the time to shine, like they did with Abaddon versus Shida. There's a reason people wanted Abaddon in AEW, is because when she went up against Shida on Dark, it was awesome. And even Shida was like, I don't know if I want to face her again. Well, she's back, and now she's just on Dark. Why? We don't know. And Anna Jay, now she's Dark Order. Yet her only match with Dark Order was the tag team tournament. Okay. And
I mean, even if you want to, you can just do enhancement with one AEW roster girl on as a tag team. Put 4 women in a tag team match for just on Dynamite. Just let them wrestle. You can do that, and then we get her fixed. Okay, we need to get a singles match. We got 4 women doing some amazing spots, and we'll kind of be a little bit more happier with it. I would, even if it was under 10 minutes. Yeah. I would be happy to see 4 women out there doing the best they can for those 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or if they really feel like their women are not at the point where they can be there for longer than 7 minutes, intergender matches, Kip and Penelope. Find other intergender groups. Like, you could have Anna and somebody from the Dark Order.
Yeah, her and Brody.
5.
Or Cabana.
Yeah.
So, and for right now, as you hopefully fix things out, make Shida look as strong as possible, unlike a certain other promotion with their former Japanese champion. And, have Shida do a gauntlet match where she's there first and she's fighting, like, say, Christy James and Killian King. Yep. And not Abaddon, we want to save her. But then, throw out one of the other, like Ariana, bring her back. Or Tai Conti, bring them out. And, have her go, through 3 of them, in, 20-minute span, and showing her that, she's an Iron Woman, which we know she is.
Yeah.
And there's ways to make it work and look good while acknowledging that you don't have the best talent right now, because a lot of your talent is overseas or is just not available. And that's okay. But you need to start. I said this all the way back in October, where I noticed that the women had 1 match a night, if that. And when everyone talks about Emmy versus Riho, where did Emmy get her #1 contendership? On Dark, where she beat Sadie Gibbs in her only match. Where's Sadie? They hyped her up so much, and she had the 1 fatal 4-way. She lost. They teased something with Nyla, never happened. And then I'm hearing that she's still training at the Nightmare Factory. Okay, but where is she? She said she wants to get back in the ring. Is she injured? I don't know. And they have talent, and again, some of it is international. B and Shanna and Riho and Emmy and Yuka. And all of them, that's 5, 6 women that could have easily filled things out. But you're not broke yet. You got slow. You could have easily built her up instead of this weird long feud with Britt Baker and Reba or Rebel or whatever her name is. They could have done something fun with her. And yet, I mean, we were all joking about making that match of the night just as a bad joke. I knew that she was going to pull Reba right out of the gate. Like, oh, I wonder who Britt's going to pick. It's going to be Reba. Who else would she pick? It's not like she could be picked logically as a dentist should and go pick Nyla, but no, let's put her against Reba.
At least you did a good move, though. At least you had a moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, she had a good moment or two, but we know Reba could Rebel, whatever.
Like to wrap it up, what they could honestly, if they don't want to have these girls wrestle, you can have them start becoming friends, make factions. Oh my God.
Well, you gotta be careful because we all remember what happened with the first women's faction.
But see, but that was also given up way too soon. You had Mel, which you didn't really use, and then just because you get a vocal minority just bashing on it, like you gave up. No,
I'm not. I won't let that one slide. That was not a vocal minority. They started out fine with Kong and Brandy. The hair thing was weird. Whatever. We've seen a lot weirder in wrestling. But then it was Mel, where I was at that show. They shaved her head, like, okay. And then they kept going on. Is like, none of it made sense. Then they brought in
Luther. Yeah.
Entirely weird. And then Kong had to leave. And then Kong had to leave because of Glow. So that wasn't going to work anyway.
They didn't think about it, but they could have done something to save that.
Yeah,
like now, they could have had something amazing with Abaddon. Like if they would have just had patience. And instead of giving in, because clearly they're not giving in because they're mad at people saying anything about the women's division right now. So they want to hold strong that everything is perfect right now in the women's division when it's not.
But look,
so they give up on something so quickly, like the Nightmare Collective, which I thought was a good angle, but they didn't even try hard enough. They're just like, oh no, we're too brand new. We're upsetting people. Let's just fold over.
And let's be honest, like the Dark Order was horrible in the beginning. People hated it.
It's like on its third leg.
And they stood with it. Marco Stunt had so much crap thrown at him, but he stood by and
he got better. He's so good now.
Like when I went to Dynamite in Philly, Marco was trashed on badly. Now everyone loves Marco. I've always loved Marco. I think he's really sweet.
But the difference there is that with Dark Order, yes, they were hated on at first because they were very much an under what do I want to say, a lesser known tag team. You know, they're from Canada and the Bucks loved them and everything, but like, you know, who are you? I didn't know who they are. I didn't realize that those are the Super Smash Brothers because I didn't get to watch a lot of their matches. But then they did the rebranding with join Dark Order, and that worked. And yeah, they could have tried something with Nightmare Collective, but what would they have done less and or more? Because again, they were growing it with Mel and then Luther, and again, Kong was going to leave either way. There was not, and even she admitted that she didn't really want the whole. She didn't want to go for a title at the beginning, and yet they were putting so much emphasis on her and the Nightmare Collective, which was different from the Nightmare Family, and yet, yeah, I mean, did they give up a little too quickly? Maybe, but it really wasn't a minority. It was a lot of people saying, like, why Nightmare Collective?
But they gave so much time to that. They took away time from the rest of the women's. So you've already invested your time into this. You could have made Mel be your muscle, like how she had Kong. Okay, so Kong is going to Glow. Have Mel become your new hair collector for whatever reason you're collecting hair. We never got a payoff. It was just like, yeah, Brandy kind of is done with it.
Yeah, she was Mandalorian. She was cutting off Wookiee hair. No, okay.
Well, I'm going to say one more thing here. Yeah. So I've been seeing the thing on social media where people have been saying, oh, it'll get better. Don't worry. The division will get better. I don't want it to get to a point where it's 2022 or 2023 and we're watching Double or Nothing and the division is still stagnant and people just respond with, don't worry, it'll get better. I don't want it to be an excuse later down the road.
Yeah,
I would have accepted that in January or earlier in the year. Yeah. But we're getting close to the year anniversary of Dynamite. And especially when we get into 2021, it'll get better won't be that valid of an excuse anymore. You know?
And to not cite another company, but use them as an example, a certain other company that we don't like to talk about had their own women's revolution. It got off to a slow start, and we understood that. But then when it got rolling, it was good for a while. Then you look at now, after all those years of high end, they've slunked right back into where they were before with lesser matches, with questionable results, and they're main eventing, but are they really? Especially.
But here's the difference. At least the women in that company are the faces and are some of the top
Yes.
talent.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like
what I want AEW to do.
No, and I agree about saying, like, we
Uh-huh.
want to be at that high, but we don't want to slink back. Like, that's what I'm saying. We need to get up to that high. We can't say, oh, it'll get better. We need to make it better and then keep it that consistent.
Okay, well, let's get on to heels, but to recap that last point, somebody told us on our Twitter feed that the revolution for women's and the other organization took 20 years to happen. You can't expect AEW to do it overnight. So we're supposed to wait until we're like, I don't know, 50-something years old. When we're 50 plus.
Are we supposed to wait until the elite get inducted into the Hall of Fame for the women's division to get better?
So,
okay,
so,
cool.
Also,
let's just burn out the fire we have, Caro, okay? Because clearly we're wrong for wanting something.
Or no, the other thing that they told me is like women just need to wait for a second show. Why do women have to wait?
Yeah. Also, as a wise prophet once said, we're all going to die by October 27th of this year. We ain't got that long to wait. And for the record, that prophet was me. You're welcome. So
like lastly, we heard the announcement. Caro was there with me for the other AEW Heels events. This was mentioned in the last one. Brandy did mention a subscription that they were thinking about having coming down the pipeline. That pipeline ended up being yesterday. So they announced it, and my God, the ripple in the ocean was like a tsunami, okay? Yeah. It hit everybody in the damn face, and some people forgot there was a pandemic. Some people forgot that people were laid off. I'm not pointing fingers, but $50 is hard for somebody to dish out at one time. $50 can pay your groceries. It could pay gas for your car. It could pay for a bill. It could pay for a suit to get a job. There are many things people have to put in front of $50 to a membership where it wasn't told how many Zoom calls we're going to get. It wasn't told how many events were going to be accessible to us. It was very vague still. There was a lot of perks. And to that, my rebuttal was, why couldn't there have been either a tier where you could have done a monthly subscription
or a free trial?
Or it could have been the seminars that were open, because the seminar about grieving to me personally helped me through a lot last time. And to know that I can't be a part of something as empowering as it was last time breaks my heart, because I can't afford that. So knowing that I can't be part of something that's supposed to help me feel better about myself as a female and as a woman that loves wrestling, I wish there was a free option for certain things. Maybe you could pay a price to be able to talk to the wrestler or submit a question. Maybe you only get the discount codes. Maybe you only get the section of AEW Heels at the live events. That's what the subscription would be. But the actual sitting and talking and being with people should have been a free experience. That is my 2 cents. Caro?
I wouldn't have a problem with the $50 fee if the branding wasn't so often. What I mean by that is AEW Heels brands itself as being an inclusive safe space. And I want to articulate safe space for a reason, because to me, paying $50 to have access to a safe space is very non-inclusive language. A safe space should be a minimum. That should be already established. There has not been a safe space for women, trans, non-binary, gender fluid, so many identities in the wrestling community for decades. The only place that there has been a safe space is for cisgendered men. That's been a given for decades. And if you're wanting to charge people $50 to have access to a safe space, that's just, I don't know, that's just really, that blocks a lot of identities out of the way. No, and I just don't, you get what I mean though, right?
Yeah, no, it did. And like, to bring back what we said about a safe space, let's just drill down. Let's just focus on that, those couple of words. Safe space. When we did these events, not one person had negativity to say. Not one person was attacked. Nobody felt bad about each other. Everybody left with smiles on their face. We went on Twitter and we blasted how much we loved the Heels event. And now we feel divided. And we shouldn't have to feel divided by currency and status. If we don't have the money, we should not feel like we are left out of a situation where we felt like we had a safe space. You're taking away a safe space you created already. And that's what breaks my heart. It was created and I was looking forward.
If they advertised it as a fan club, which I noticed the social media did today, they are now advertising it as a fan club. Yeah. If they did that in the first place, okay, but the fact that they're marketing it as a safe space, something that should be a given, something that should be established already, just didn't really sit well in my heart. And again, I say all of this out of love. I want wrestling to continue to be a very inclusive space. We've been making really great progress on it, especially in the past few years. And I just don't want AEW Heels to turn into something that is like, I don't know. It's just, I've had a lot of feelings on it, you know.
Clearly.
I have a proposition. So heels are very feminine, but they're usually something that only higher class people could wear. If you have a comfortable office job or stuff
I
like that.
didn't even think of that. Yeah.
So why don't the women that are feeling this certain way about heels makes AEW boots? Because women also wear working boots. You got to get on by the bootstraps, and just make it an inclusivity, a safe space for you guys, and don't depend on somebody. I'm not attacking AEW. Somebody that does not know or has not been around the struggles that a normal working class woman or LGBT person has felt during these wrestling events, because I've seen it firsthand. I've been there for where
Yeah.
women are competing in the ring and you got men talking about wanting to do certain things to them and all this stuff. It's like,
Well,
so
what you said about that, it's like one girl told me the last time she bought a pair of heels was at her high school graduation. The last time I wore heels was at our wedding. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't define me as a female. It makes me feel like, okay, no, I'm not trying to say should I be wearing heels more often, but I also question the feminine level that I have in myself. So it goes back
Yes.
to, it goes
Oh my
back to
gosh. That's something I didn't even think about.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said
Yeah.
about identify. Like, I don't always feel like I like t-shirts and jeans. I will take Jack's hoodie as quick as I can. I put on makeup for this because I want to look somewhat presentable on YouTube. But besides that, like, I don't associate with that femininity as much as other people do. And therefore, like, having something like boots, I wear combat boots all the time because I feel empowered by that. I feel like I can go out there and tackle the day, just like heels should too. But I don't feel as thought of. I feel less than a little bit because I'm not as girly.
To get into a little bit of personal details here, I'm not going to delve in too much into this, but dealing with my femininity or dealing with something that should be considered feminine, it's just something that I've been dealing with for years. I've considered myself, am I really like a woman by, wearing hoodies and t-shirts and stuff? It's only a couple years ago that I actually have the courage to put on makeup and stuff, because this is just something that I've been dealing with for years. I know I am still a woman. I still clearly identify with that. I'm still comfortable with it. But again, I think the last time I wore heels was like, I don't know, when I graduated college.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I feel
great.
I'm empowered by wearing Converse, skinny jeans, and wrestling shirts and dresses. I wear dresses too. I love dresses, So I really appreciate that you brought it up. I shouldn't have mentioned that in my video, but I really didn't even think about that.
No, I mean, your video was great.
Do you want to? Yeah, your video was amazing, Caro. We'll definitely link it in our playlist for you guys to see too. Todd, do you want to close us out on some little bit of tidbits on what we just talked about?
Sure. As the dominant female of the AEW Friends, I feel I have to say that, and yes, I have worn heels before. You're welcome. It didn't fit my feet though, but that's what happens when you have these. So,
oh God,
size 13. Anyway, but my thoughts on the heels, the brand, not the shoes, is that it's a conflicting thing, because when I heard it was like $50 per year, I'm like, no, that's actually not too bad. But then I heard, oh, it's all at once, like that's not good. And I definitely like the idea of tiers, going from boots to
and
dressy shoes. Hold on, I got a joke here.
I've seen, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I've seen people say that like heels is like, oh well, it factors out to like $4 to $5 a month. That would be great if they offered a monthly subscription.
Yeah, that's,
like,
don't do it all at once.
$4 Starbucks. Well, guess what? I don't drink Starbucks.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that doesn't relate to me either. You totally missed the mark.
Yeah.
There was a lot of tone deaf comments being made by people of higher economic class. So there is clearly an economic divide happening in heels, and the fact that their branding officer is taking everything being said as an attack and not really listening to the fans, it's not really good for your brand.
No. And when I first heard of heels, my first thought was, I can't do this. Which I'm not insulting women hardly. This is a great thing. And yet I knew Maria and Caro and Amy and Tiffany, and they all got to do the first event. And I kept hearing like all their praise of the event, and I'm just like, oh, this is so nice. they get to come together, they get to talk with the wrestlers, they get to, see them in like in a more personal setting. And then I was all for this, even though I myself could not be a part of it. And so when I heard like a subscription for service, I'm like, okay, this is good. Keep this going. Keep the community going. This is great. And it's like $50 right up front. Not exactly the best option. And like Caro said, they could have done, $5 a month, which is a lot more manageable. But even then, why are you charging for a safe space? If this was, like the tiers thing, level 1 community, that's for free, that's fine. Certain seminars, that's free. And then like certain Zoom calls with like the higher talent like Brandy, Nyla, Sheeta, Leva, all of them, that one can be like $5 a month. And then that at least every month you're going to get one of those Zoom calls. There's ways to make this better, but the community is supposed to be first. AEW has said since day one, not even Dynamite day one or Double or Nothing day one, like Jacksonville day one. This is about the fans. This is about the fans coming together, getting together and saying, we want something more, we want something better, we want something more beautiful. The concept of AEW Heels is perfect because it's saying, hey, you can be a woman or LGBTQ plus and love wrestling and know that there's a group of people who want to talk with you about this because we all love wrestling in this community. That's a beautiful thing. And like Caro Maria said, no one who went to those early seminars ever had a bad thing to say about Heels. And that's a perfect thing. Paying for it is not bad technically, but as in all things, it's the finer details.
Yeah.
Don't know all the seminars we're going to get or when you're going to get them. I mean, they didn't say, 1 a month or 2 a month or whatever. They didn't say, oh, it's a tiered program or $5 a month. It's $50 up front, which some people can't do.
But $50 up front, I felt like is because it's an easy way to say you don't have to deliver every month. If it's a subscription charge, you would expect something every month.
Yeah.
So depending on how the world is, they're going to bank on the fact that you can probably do things more at the actual events. So this is going to become more of an increase in actual profit for them because you're going to actually, if you have an invite to like a Heels event at say Dynamite in Chicago, well, if you add extra $20 in or whatever, or your Heels membership, you might be able to get a different tier of seating, which might cost inevitably more money.
Yeah.
So it's smart, but it also was a great way to get away from subscriptions of monthly and regulations, having to give somebody something every month. And if I get that, maybe you can't. But give us the option to be like, okay, well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay if you can't deliver every month,
And again, like I said, I have no problem with the concept of Heels. I think the concept of Heels is fantastic. I think it's brilliant. I think it's something we need more of.
Yeah.
The issue I have again is just the branding of it, how they're advertising it as, and the paywall that prevents people who are more vulnerable to having their voices suppressed and not heard in the wrestling community, not have access to a safe space.
Yeah.
Just going with what happens in America, domestic violence, a lot of women end up staying in violent situations because of economic reasons. A lot of women do not have the same easiness as men do to get out of such situations because, as we know, women are paid less. As we know, trans women are usually homeless, are usually more suicidal. So for you to prevent these people to come to the table because you got to pay $50 to come to this table is kind of like a slap to the face about this whole Heels thing. And that's how I feel. Like, I just feel like AEW keeps on dropping the ball, not only with their women's division, but with their women fan base. You don't have a male fan base where you got to pay $50. We could just tune on BTE and that's all free for us.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming out today. I know we can probably go on for hours about this topic, but we shall not because we'll probably either get heated or upset or more.
I'm just mad that Caro interrupted me before I could finish my joke because I was going to make a joke about high heels and Joey Janela.
Well, then go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it now.
Go ahead, Todd.
I just did. That was a joke. High heels and Joey Janela.
Shut up. I swear to God.
All right.
We'll put, as always, everybody, we'll put everybody's links in there for the 450/wrestling podcast for Caro at WrestleJoy. Thank you guys for coming out and being open, honest, and just bearing it all about what we love most, wrestling and women's wrestling. So till next time, AEW Friends and Beat 'em Up Wrestling, signing out.
Peace.